summer, Mike likes machine guns.
I like machine guns. Welcome to episode 12. I can't believe that we've gotten this far.
It's pretty outstanding.
It's stupid crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have Todd Nielsen with us. Nielsen Training and Consulting.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
We're honored.
We're going to try to help listeners improve their skill sets
Yes.
with a little training and maybe some consulting.
Okay. We'll see what I can do for you.
I apologize. Last episode, I neglected to thank the good people of Arrow, who we have pretty much snubbed.
We lost that sponsorship, guys.
Well, we kicked them out.
Oh, we did.
I don't think they ever got over the fact that I said it was just filtered tap water. I think they're still angry, although they came back. But Smart Water, look at it.
For those.
That's it.
Yeah,
We've done it. Unless the French call with some Perrier, we're there.
Well, I'm feeling a little silly today, so I'm going to take a sip of this.
Let's see if it helps.
Smarten up.
How do you feel?
Wiser.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your IQ just went up like 10 octaves or 10 points?
I think so.
Sweet.
Purely balanced pH.
Okay.
Alrighty
Well,
then.
we'll see how long we can stay with them. Maybe a
Thanks,
couple
Smart
weeks.
Water. You know what's something cool here? If you look on the inside of the bottle, on the label, you can see a goldfish, and it says pure, crisp taste that hits you smack in the gills.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
You see it?
I'm seeing it now. I just learned
Oh,
something.
you got something different. Let me see
No,
yours.
it's got a goldfish.
No. Or
Yeah, it does.
yeah, it does. And that yours says beauty is more than fin deep. There's a dad at the headquarters at Smart Water just like, yeah,
No wonder they're doing so well.
this dad joke is going to be money.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So let's dive in. Now that we've given our sponsors a shout out, hopefully we can keep them for a few episodes.
We'll see what happens.
Todd Nielsen, I am familiar with you mainly because you do some work with Ready Gunner, and we're big fans with
Yep.
Ready Gunner. You teach classes there?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
do.
correct?
Yep.
So, and you've got quite the background. You were, was it 20 years of SWAT or just 20 years in PD?
No, I did 25 years total with San Jose Police Department, but I never did SWAT stuff. I always did narcotics. Excuse me. Narcotics, prostitution, fugitive apprehension, and human trafficking.
Wow.
So it's funny because like everybody says, "Oh, you were a SWAT cop." I'm like, no. And I joke with I have a lot of guys that were on the SWAT team and everything. So I joke with them, going, "Yeah, we did more work than you guys did." So sorry, merch team. Sorry, that's just our little joke that we did on the teams. That anybody that wasn't on merge.
California, border state, so there must have been some serious issues you had to deal with. I mean, obviously, we hear about stories in the news.
Undercover?
Yeah, I did a lot of stuff in what we called plain clothes, but did a lot of undercover operations. I spent the majority of my career in plain clothes, so it was...
Did you have one of those, like, stakeout vans?
Oh, yeah, we had several of those.
Okay.
Some of those I can
cool.
talk about. There's others that I still can't talk about just because of securities for the teams.
So
and
you'd,
stuff.
like, record people and watch them and
Oh, yeah.
build a case, as it were.
Oh yeah, like literally with 3 warrants, I can turn your phone on and listen to everything that's going on around you on your phone.
Well, you could do
Comforting.
that, but you would be sadly bored.
You would hear a lot of not prank calls, but manipulating of telemarketers.
I love it.
I would hope that you would enjoy a very dry sense of humor.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what you would get.
Oh yeah, it's funny because coming from police work, I've developed a very, very dry sense of humor, and most people can't handle that.
Well, I think it's a way to cope with tragedy.
Yeah,
You know,
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
I don't know. So
Miles wants us to ask you to share one of your funniest stories in law enforcement in California. I mean, you have to have.
Then I'd
So
like
many.
to go dangerous.
Yeah, funniest.
that.
We'll start with funniest, and then we'll go to most dangerous.
Oh man, there's so many funny things that happen, and it's like you had to be there in the moment to kind of really appreciate what it was, you know. Just stupid things that guys would do, like putting magazines upside down in their magwell on ops.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds like something I'd do, guys.
I do that sometimes.
we had a.
My question is how does it stay in if you put it upside down? Like,
It falls out.
Okay, it doesn't stay in.
okay.
No, it doesn't stay in.
So they realize their mistake right away.
Oh yeah.
And the whole team's just like, what?
What is going on? I remember we were on this security thing for a big rap concert and everything else at the San Jose Arena, and we knew that there was going to be some type of problems and everything else. So it's like, okay,
Gang violence.
oh, with all that stuff, violence. I mean, a fight was no big deal. Somebody going toe to toe for a fight was nothing. A knife fight was kind of okay, yeah, it's just a knife fight. Gunfights were pretty much commonplace.
Wow. So how close to it was colors? You have Bloods, Crips, battling it out. Drive-bys.
It wasn't quite like that. It was more of East Bay versus South Bay. The area that they kind of call it the Bay Area, where I'm from, and the East Bay was always rivaling with the South Bay, and I lived in the South Bay, so that's just kind of
Classic turf war.
yeah. And it's stupid because it's literally over a geographical area of maybe 7 or 8 miles, and it's like, why?
Cue Eminem's 8 Mile.
Exactly. So we're at this concert and everything. We're fully expecting violence and everything else, and I'm kind of on the towards the front of the building near one of the major parking lots, and it's just starting to let out. And we're like, okay, let's get ready because here it comes. And all of a sudden, you hear the shots fire, pop, 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 pop. It's like, okay, this is for real. Grab a rifle and run over to the parking lot, and I literally see my buddy's magazine skipping across the ground as he's trying to address the guy that was shooting at people.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, oh crap, this is not good. So go running over and cover him. I'm like, dude, get another mag, get another mag, get another mag. And he's staging up, and he's like, the suspect's in there, the suspect's in there, in that car. And I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Turns out it was the victim that was in the car that he was covering. The suspect had actually foot-bailed into another car, and they ended up crashing into like 3 cars trying to get out of the parking lot and everything else. Just total hairy scene. When everything was said and done, we found like 12 or 15 different shell casings, and no law enforcement fired. And I was like, okay, this is for real. It was funny because I was telling Teddy, my partner, that night, I'm like, hey, dude, did you hear like stuff whizzing past us? He goes, yeah, those were bullets. Oh, cool.
Interesting day in the office.
Yeah.
Okay, now a scary one.
That was actually kind of scary.
Yeah,
Let's see.
for you, that was like funny for you, but
Yeah,
Well,
I didn't see anything funny about that.
except for the mag skipping. That's
Well, it's kind of funny and scary because it's like when you look at stuff, Murphy is always in effect, especially in a tactical operation. The guys literally magazines falling out, guns falling apart, sights falling off of guys' guns because they're not checking them right. I've been on training missions where literally guys' slings fall off their guns because they didn't secure them properly. And it's just like you sit there and I laugh all the time whenever I see a gun hit the deck, but it's like, dude, seriously, check your equipment, make sure your equipment's squared away.
it's a life or death situation there. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because like I get people all the time. They're like, "Hey, can you endorse this? Can you endorse that? Can you endorse this? Can you endorse that? Hey, is this a good product? Is this a good product?" And most of the time, I tell them, "Well, either I haven't tested it, Or if I can't trust my life to it, I'm not gonna say anything good about it. I'll just say, hey, I just can't trust my life to it. So, you decide what your life is worth. I mean, if you're willing to bet your life on a $29 optic, go for it.
If I was in that situation, I'd make sure that my equipment was shiny and tight.
Yeah, it's funny because like people look at like my primary rifle that I had for my carry rifle, my duty rifle, and they're looking at it, they're like, man, that thing's just disgusting. It's beat up, it's scratched up, and it's funny because now people are paying thousands of dollars to get that same look on
battle worn.
Yeah, and they're like, but how does that thing even work? It works flawlessly, and if you were to pull it apart and look at it even today, it's perfectly clean. There's oil on it, but there's not an ounce of carbon or anything else on it, just because I make sure that I keep it maintained and everything. And that was just one of the things that I started to look at as an operator going, if I just keep up on my equipment, it's amazing how well it's going to perform.
I'm a believer in that.
What was your duty rifle?
Colt 6920.
Nice.
Yeah. I love that thing. It obviously there were some modified parts on it. It
Sure.
wasn't just stock. But that thing ran every single time. The only time I had a malfunction on is when I induced it for training type stuff.
I'm sure the audience wants to know other things too, like what did you put on it for upgrades? What optics did you use? How did you set it up?
Let's see. On that gun, I had Magpul, CTR, stock and grip, and then a Viking Tactics handguard, full free float handguard, the big round JP one. So going real old school on that.
Classy.
And then it was funny. When I went to team leader school, Larry Vickers was the instructor on it.
Oh, nice.
Dude, it was awesome. And he looks down at my rifle and he goes, "Well, I can tell who you've been training with." And I just kind of chuckled and he goes, "Well, how come you don't have an EOTech?" And I go, "Well, I have an aim point." He goes, "Well, how come?" I go, "Because I can make my own decisions." And he just looks at me and, big old LAV, when he looks down on you and just goes, "All right, kid, I like you."
You answered it correctly.
Yeah. And as a junior operator, I was like, this is Larry Vickers, man.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a big deal.
But just an aim point, what is that one? The M4S was the one that I was running on, and literally that gun is still intact. I haven't pillaged anything off of it just because it holds a lot of kind of sentimental value. It's saved my life a few times, so I kind of want to keep it the way it is.
It's like your sword.
Yeah.
It's funny how over the years I look at different firearms that I've had and still have, and they get locked in a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to go back and change them either.
No.
You could continue to put the most current, trendy parts on, but
Yeah.
I'd almost rather get another rifle and do that too, to, get a more modern variant and then let that one get locked in time.
Yeah. It's funny because, I have an original, what is it, a Gen 2 Glock 21C. Because it's funny, at the time I wanted a Glock 21, but nobody had them in, and I had a 220 that after my shooting, they said, "Hey, this frame is cracked. You're going to have to get a new gun and everything else." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me right now? I got a kid coming. I'm about to get married and everything else." And then I'm like, all right. I went to our local police supply store, and they only had the compensated version. And literally, I'm like, well, it is what it is. I need a gun, and I'm not going to run a 9mm because back then 9mm was for the wimpy boys. It wasn't for the men.
See, that's funny how that changed.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. And it fast forward, what is it? 14 years after that, I'm now carrying a 9mm because I get more bullets. The controlled expansion rate is so close to 45 that it's like,
well,
why
it's
not?
Actually very close in foot-pounds of energy.
Yeah.
But it has that penetration.
Yeah.
And like you say, the round count and the lower recoil, the faster follow-up shots.
Yep.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I don't have 10 meat eaters behind me anymore, backing me, so I gotta
work it out.
I gotta take care of it myself.
What's your EDC right now?
It's just a Glock 19. And actually, cool story about this one. When I retired back in 2015, a bunch of my students and friends and clients all got together and bought me this gun and had it custom fitted to my hand.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they had the guys from Sweaty Muddy Bloody do a custom grip job on it for me, custom slide.
Sweaty Muddy Bloody?
Yeah, Sweaty Muddy Bloody. He's no longer doing grip work, but he was one of the first guys that he was based out of, I think it was Michigan, that started doing grip reductions and grip texturing and all that kind of stuff. So this actually, in talking to him, he's like, yeah, that was one of the last guns I ever did.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm like, yeah, well, that one's going to kind of hang around for a while.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that one's going to live in time for a while.
Yeah, that's super neat.
Yeah.
I like that. It's nice to get a little sentimentality.
Oh, yeah. Well, and
Not just a Glock 19.
yeah, it's just everything on the inside is bone stock.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah, and people laugh at me like, how can that thing even shoot? I'm like, because I know how to shoot.
And when you're talking Glock and parts and service, man.
Oh.
Any fool can put anything in it, and anything you need is super available.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just surf the web for anything Glock, and you can, whatever, you can build Glocks now that don't even have a single Glock part in it.
That's right. I like to stock a few Glock parts in case you need something. You can just fire it in there and move on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to do that with other things. I've got a HK USP TAC, and I really, really love this pistol. And we did the bulk of the Silencer Co. Osprey development on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been at tons of shoots and shot shows and all over the country. And
So it's been well loved.
I used the tar out of this thing. It's still awesome, but at SHOT Show, I forgot to take the firing pin out of it, so I thought I'll outsmart the SHOT Show people. I locked it. It's got a little lock on it, so you can't push the slide, but that didn't outsmart the SHOT Show people.
No, those guys are kind of jerks when it comes to that stuff.
He's like, I need to, and I'm like, it's locked. He's like, no.
No. Got to pull it all apart.
So he says, go over to this guy that will take a firing pin out for you. It's this guy we send everybody to, like idiots like you, right? And I was like, okay, I'll go over there. I went over there and I started to tell him what happened. And he jacked the slide open and bent the hammer spur. And I looked for, it probably was a year until I got the parts to fix it again. And the way that I got the parts was, we purchased a company gun and started using it, but the frame cracked.
So you just
So before I sent it back to HK to get fixed, I took the parts out and even got mine running again.
Nice.
So I learned my lesson on one source parts. There's not a lot of aftermarket stuff for an HK.
No, there isn't.
And if they don't have it and it's back ordered and they're not going to give it to you.
Yeah. And if their production team is not making that, making those parts, guess what? You're going to be waiting forever on that.
You just put it on a shelf.
Yeah.
That kind of made me a Glock fan, and, you know, to supply a little, you know, fishing tackle box, as it were, with a couple of extra things in there, I did never want to get in that boat again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny because, like, my clients laugh at me when I show up with I call it my cleaning kit. But I literally have enough small parts to build three complete ARs that I travel with, just in case I break stuff.
Smart.
You know, it's just like, you know, I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what gun stores are going to be available to me, so I'm just going to keep the parts just to make sure it's ready to go.
Well, an AR is fantastic for that because of talk about a firearm that has a lot of available parts and service.
Oh, yes.
Not a problem.
Especially if you run a standard, 5.56 or 223.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. As long as you don't have like a Knight's gun or some kind of piston gun, something that's out of the norm, you're pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny because like a buddy of mine, his agency just issued him a piston gun, and I'm like, so who's armoring this? He goes, well, we got to send it back to the factory. I go, so you're down for a week. And he's like,
no knock on piston guns, but they are all a little different, and there isn't a substantial amount of service for any of them, really.
Yeah. And with each piston, too, you're kind of stuck with that manufacturer. There's no kind of deviation from that like there is with a gas gun.
What if they go out of business?
That's a problem.
The old Colt we could keep running.
Yeah. Well, now that CZ's got Colt, so
who cares, right? I mean, from that perspective,
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure CZ will do awesome with them.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I definitely enjoy shooting their guns.
Yeah, they definitely make some nice firearms.
Yeah.
I think to our 30 listeners, I beat you to it, Mike. Colt sales just went through the roof.
You really think that 30 people will listen to this?
I'm pretty sure we'll have at least 30 comments within the first hour.
If it doesn't get banned.
Right, that's an issue
we'll
right
see.
now.
You might be engulfed in a little bit of a shadow ban.
Yeah, I know. People were joking about that in the comments after you mentioned that in the stories yesterday, but in all seriousness, for those of you who remember this when this episode is released, it's a battle right now. We took a serious dip for no reason. I can't explain it. And it's very troubling in our analytics yesterday when we did our post about Jack Carr, which should perform pretty well.
Yeah.
Or at least it should have, in my opinion, based on my understanding of our audience and just everything. And then this morning, we did this great post that got banned. It was our first time since I started working at Dead Air that we had a post removed for violating community guidelines, and the reason they said it was we were selling illegal goods. And I contested it, and thank goodness they ended up reposting it. But if that doesn't scare you, at least in our space, I mean, we've been seeing this all over in our community, in the gun community, and we obviously see what's going on politically right now.
Yeah.
What the media is covering with all of a sudden there's mass shootings are an issue, which they always will be. One death is too many, but there's some serious agenda going on at work here.
Right.
And our rights are under attack. And that's one of the reasons why, and Jack Carr actually brought this up in the podcast, why we have a podcast was because we can speak freely on here about topics that if we just tried to discuss them and type them out, they'd get taken down. And we would be on the map. And I brought up an example. We had about 300,000 followers on our TikTok, and we put some effort into it. We had probably 10 or 15 videos that were 5 million plus each on views.
Wow.
It was doing us a lot of good. We were expanding to a new audience. Say what you want about the communist app of TikTok, but we got no warning. All of a sudden,
just gone.
A couple weekends ago, gone. I couldn't even access it. I couldn't even, on behalf of Dead Air Silencers, I couldn't send them an email. I couldn't log in. It was just gone.
Wow.
Here's what you want to do to counter that. To our, I'm going to say 25 listeners.
30.
Get your name, subscribe to the email list of the companies that you want to stay in contact with.
Yes.
And in the future, that is looking more and more like the way that you're going to be able to get information about products, sales, what have you. I think that's... I'm going to start blocking less companies. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you won't be able to get any info.
Yeah.
If there's no social media, then how will we interact with people?
Speaking of, we typically bring this up towards the end of an episode, but how can people find Todd Nielsen? You've got social media?
Yeah, I've got Instagram, Facebook. I'm actually on LinkedIn. You have to find me personally, though, rather than Nielsen Training Consulting. Mm-hmm. For Facebook, it's just Nielsen Training. Instagram, Nielsen Training. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't do a whole lot on Twitter.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Unless you're an idiot politician.
I don't have a Twitter app.
We use it, but we don't really do a whole lot on it. It's I mean, we get some engagement, but Twitter is just kind of meh.
Yeah. And then I'm working on revitalizing my YouTube presence. Right now I'm up to like 60 followers. Woohoo.
Heck yeah. Hey.
No, that's solid.
Yeah. It's a good start for 2021.
Is it Nielsen Training on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on Nielsen. It's Nielsen Training Consulting on YouTube.
Show Todd some support, guys. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel.
That would be awesome. And then tell me some stuff for some content that you want.
Yeah. What can they expect? What are you planning on doing there?
We do a thing called Wellness Wednesdays. It's just kind of overall wellness. That's every single Wednesday. And then I've started filming a bunch of different content on different shooting techniques.
When you say wellness, do you mean like health?
Yeah,
and wellness? Okay,
health and
cool.
wellness, just
fitness
and proper diet, and just making sure you're hydrated. And,
I'm gonna subscribe,
dude. And it's funny because I didn't think it was really going to be that big a deal, and then all of a sudden it just started taking off. I'm like, people actually like this and follow it. Okay, cool. Then I'll keep doing it. And trust me, I'm no perfect fitness guy or anything.
None of us are.
But I know that if I eat decent and I stay hydrated, and I do some physical fitness every single day, it's amazing how much better my body feels. And what ultimately retired me is I lost the use of 3 fingers on my hand.
Really?
Yeah. My pinky, my ring finger, and my middle finger, the tendon up by my elbow got severed from a fight.
Wow. Like hand-to-hand combat?
Like a knife fight?
Knife fight?
No, I was one of the rare times that I was in patrol, and there was this dude that was just a butthead in the area, and he would just go in and steal stuff all the time. Well, he went into this grocery store and loaded up a shopping cart full of stuff and then walked out. Well, the manager confronted him. And so he whips out a knife. I'm like, okay, well, that just made it a felony rather than a misdemeanor. So now we've got an armed robbery. And I go back and I look at the video as the manager's describing. I'm like, oh, I know who this cat is. And then he shows me the video. I'm like, yeah, I know exactly where he lives. So we go knock on the door. Of course, I get a couple of teammates together and go, hey, this is what we're going to do, so on and so forth. Knock on the door, and family says that he's not there and everything else. One thing leads to another. He finally comes to the door, and then the uncles and the cousins decide to get involved. After 40 officers show up.
40 officers?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was what we called the old school Donnybrook. 6 or 7 people went to jail. He went to jail. My arm swelled up to twice its size.
Wow.
And they classified it as a sprain or severe sprain. And I went back to work like 3 weeks later and didn't think anything of it. And then about a year later, I was picked up a coffee can or a coffee mug, and my hand is sitting there shaking, holding on to it. My wife's like, what's up with your hand? I go, oh, it just shakes a little bit when I try and grab something.
Nothing wrong with that.
No big deal. And she
Typical
goes,
macho dude response.
yeah, exactly. Total dude response.
We're good.
I'm spilling half my coffee on the mug because it's shaking so hard.
I know, because I do the same thing.
Oh, every guy does. Yeah. Every guy does, especially when you're, an alpha on an alpha team. So it's just.
Have you seen the Be a Man compilations?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those are funny.
Don't go to the hospital. Just die. Be a man.
So did the tendons get detached from the...
They were literally hanging on by a thread. At date of injury, my right hand was 178 pounds of grip strength. The worst it got with my left hand was 5 pounds of grip strength.
Whoa.
Holy. Wow.
And I was still working. And finally, the doc looks at me and he goes, look, I can fix it, but we're going to have to do surgery. And so they go in and they do the surgery and everything. And surgery got me the full use of my hand back, but I wasn't able to come back from the surgery within a year. And so, was it April 4th, 2015, I went to the docks, and within about 45 seconds of sitting in front of the dock, he goes, "That's it. Your career's over."
Wow, he said it like that too.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, dude. It was pretty brutal when.
Nice bedside manner, Doc.
Well, it was funny because it was when I went in there fully expecting to be able to kind of BS it and get him to agree that, hey, I'll be good in another 2 or 3 months, and he just goes, "No, you're done." So I was like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? And then August 5th, 2015, I was retired. That was it. I was done.
Wow.
I had
It was a good run, though.
Oh, it was a great run. I mean, the only regret I have is that I wasn't able to get onto a K-9 team, and that's how I wanted to end my career. But, it is what it is.
You're doing some cool stuff now, though.
Oh, yeah, dude. I am so fortunate with my history and my background that I get to travel around the United States doing firearms and tactical training. I get to meet all kinds of cool people. And this industry, the training industry itself, is so fun to be around because there's so many different dynamics and so many different personalities that you can work with or work around. I look at the top guys, T-Max and John Glover right here in Utah.
I was going to ask that. Do you do any work with the Fieldcraft?
We've talked a little bit about doing stuff. It's just trying to get our schedules to meet up when we can actually get stuff done. I've been on the AmCon podcast and all that.
Nice.
And I mean, he's got a great organization going there. It's just, Mike's trying to keep everything going, and it's and how he's doing all that plus training.
Yeah.
Dude, that's impressive. That impresses me.
Yeah, we were just over at their headquarters, and it was definitely mind-blowing, all the things. I didn't know the full scope of what they're up to, and they're very
I didn't
busy.
either, but they're busy.
Yeah.
They've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
They do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Just from the preparedness side of stuff that he does, that would be a full-time job for the majority of people in the world.
That's right.
And then he's doing the podcast plus the AmCon plus the training stuff. I mean, he's basically doing 4 full-time jobs at once. That's super impressive.
I think I'm going to try to go over to the Rigs and Coffee thing when they have it again.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Although Rich won't let me go this time because he says I have to go to Texas.
I said you can go, but that's your choice. You're just going to disappoint a lot of Southern shooters.
I know what you said, and I've fallen for that before. You'd be angry for a month.
I feel like I'm your work wife.
I do too.
You're going to be in doghouse, mister.
Well, you could just get Evan.
I don't want to be in trouble.
You could just get Evan and the crew to drive the rig up here rather than keep it down in Texas.
Well, they're just over in Heber.
Oh, the Rigs and Coffee he's
But I've
referring to
got
is
it.
the one that they're doing this weekend that Fieldcraft is putting on. I'm pretty sure Black Rifle is going to be there too.
Oh, sweet.
But I can't go.
Or is it Black Rifle that puts it on? They made it sound like it was their thing.
I'm not sure. See, I wanted to go and figure that out. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
But you are not allowing that. So I can't answer your questions about the event because I'm not going.
I'm just a puppet. It's really Jack Callahan that's pulling the strings over here. He puts on the Texas Range Day, which is the event we're going to this weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Well, whoever it is, someone's stopping me from going to the Rigs and Coffee and learning about it.
I'll check it out and I'll shoot you a text. How's
okay,
that?
good. Yes, it's going to be in Heber, right?
Yeah, correct.
At the headquarters.
Yes.
That Fieldcraft?
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool.
Not really.
Well, it's cool for me because I get to go, but
Yeah, you could go. Do you do off-roading?
I used to when I was in college, but I haven't done it in a long time. But now living here in Utah, it's kind of like you have to go off-road.
You kind of do.
You kind of.
A lot of the roads are off-road.
Yeah.
What brought you to Utah, by the way? You go from California to Utah. I mean, there's a lot of Californians doing that. But
Well, trust me on this. I am not going to California, Utah. I'm going to keep Utah the way it is because
Yes.
there's a reason why I moved here. I actually moved here. My wife has a bunch of her family that live here.
Oh, cool.
And we always said that when I retired, we were going to move out of California just because it's stupid expensive. Mm-hmm. When you're paying $3,200 for a house payment, for a little dinky 1,500 square foot house on barely a quarter
Sounds like
acre.
Park City.
Yeah. And packed, too.
Yeah. Oh.
How do you move around in California? It's like 2 hours to go 5 miles.
I lived from my door to the police department was 32 miles.
No way.
And I worked odd hours, and it still took me an hour to get there each way. The only time that I could get home, usually within 30 minutes, was when I was coming home at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
I couldn't do that.
No, it's so frustrating. It's funny because like people complain about traffic around here. I'm like, you guys don't know what traffic is.
Yeah.
Facts. They don't.
No.
Spend a little time in Atlanta, Georgia, and that'll give you an idea of it as well.
Or Houston, Texas.
You pull that up on the map.
Houston
and
is
I'm
awful.
like,
Yes.
why are all these roads red? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what it means.
I would say
You're not getting anywhere.
the closest traffic experience that I've had to anything like in California, LA being probably the worst would be Seattle traffic.
Yeah, Seattle's pretty bad.
Seattle is awful, and the people cannot drive at all over there. At least like in California, there's like aggressive drivers.
Yeah.
They're just, I don't understand what it is. Maybe it's the lack of vitamin D. But Seattle drivers are awful.
Yes.
So crime in Seattle is pretty bad, and it's getting really bad actually right now.
With all the stuff that's been going on over there on the East Coast or the West Coast there, and the defiance of law enforcement altogether, I feel bad for them because, I got a lot of buddies that are still on teams and stuff out there, and they're constantly dealing with that kind of stuff. And, when I was doing crowd control stuff, we'd laugh when we get gassed. They'd throw a bottle full of pee and feces at you. But
Animals.
Yeah,
That doesn't seem like it's that funny.
No, it's not that. Again, dry humor.
Yeah, no, right?
Sorry for laughing.
See, I was throwing a little dry humor in there for you on that, just adding to it.
Pee and feces.
Yeah,
Classy.
I basically looked at it as, hey, I'm not dead, so it stinks and there's chances of diseases, but the guys now they're getting firebombed.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of my. I've got 2 buddies that. Because of the lasers and stuff, they now have eye problems.
I was just going to say that you want some of laser diffusing glasses.
Yeah, when I look at this stuff that's going on, the anarchy that's going on and stuff, it's just like, well, you're sitting there claiming that you want this freedom and everything else, but you're being an anarchist. That's not freedom. That's just lawlessness.
Yeah, but if Foot Locker's having 100% off sale, I mean, what do you expect? They're going to go and break into the Foot Locker and steal some Nikes.
Yeah. I've never owned Air Jordans, but if they were on 100% sale,
then you might actually own a
I'd
pair.
go in there and sculpt from a size a little bit.
One of my, I actually don't think I've ever even told you this, but before I launched my marketing career right after college, I pursued a career in law enforcement. It was like what I wanted to do. And it was really competitive in Seattle. That's where I went to school. And I met my best friend at the police academy in Buren, Washington. And he's on SWAT right now in Auburn, Washington, which is about 15, maybe 20 minutes from Tacoma, which when we were in college, we used to call it Tacompton. It was, a lot of Cops episodes were actually filmed in my neighborhood. And when I was in college, this is really tragic story. I'm sure you probably remember when it happened. There was a Forza coffee shop where 4 police officers were massacred. I lived a block away from there, and I actually heard the shots ring off. Yeah, I was right next to McCord Air Force Base.
Oh wow!
But like that was like a daily thing, and it's crazy because, or not a daily thing, I should say. Just the violence was something that I was always aware of and always prepared, and it's always stuck with me. Living there in college, I created these habits, and my wife at first used to think I was kind of paranoid, but it's today it's like it's so prevalent, it's not weird anymore to live that prepared lifestyle.
Yeah.
But But anyways, I don't even know why I got on that tangent. He's just telling me some crazy stories. That was the full circle here of what he deals with on a daily basis. And then as far as being a police officer, I do not envy any of the guys who are in that.
The guys that are cops right now, I tell you, they're scrutinized for every little thing that they do. You know, I was talking with one of my last recruits a couple weeks ago, and he's just like, I can't even go to the bathroom without somebody scrutinizing, well, you should be out working. You should be out doing this. You should be out doing that. You know, I was a cop before Rodney King. And that kind of stuff never happened. We were super respected. And then it kind of started to diminish right after Rodney King. But then it started to kind of swing a little bit back to being more respectful towards law enforcement. And then now it's just, you know, even politicians are getting into the game now of, hey, let's just crucify the cops for anything that we can possibly crucify them for. You know, the latest one with that the gal that shot the dude thinking it was a taser. You know, and here's the reality: that's that's inadequate training. She did not have adequate training in order to be able to utilize that taser,
or know that she had the taser in her hand. In a fight or flight situation like that,
even if she
really
was
confused.
an expert in it, I get the chances of it not happening.
Yeah,
but it could still happen.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just part of the, like, mistakes will be made.
Yeah.
You've got people out there, and I couldn't imagine being in situations like that.
Yeah. Well, in like the human body, it responds to what it's been trained. If the body hasn't been trained to, hey, this is what a taser works like, this is what a taser feels like, you know, the majority of officers, they're going out, they're hitting the street, the first-time taser users, with maybe firing 2 or 3 shots. That's it. You know, and when you look at that reality, it's like, okay, why are we not doing this better? And literally it comes down to cost. You know, each time they fire one of those cartridges, it costs $20. You know, you take a police department like mine that had 1,400 guys.
Yeah.
You know, that's $2,800 to fire one. Then to fire 2. You know, I was fortunate to be in our training unit and also be on special teams where we were allowed and had bigger budgets and everything else to be able to go do that kind of stuff. So, you know, fortunately, I was able to get past all that and give myself some extra training, get to other training courses.
I imagine it's even worse in some of these inner cities where the cops have almost zero respect.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the PR work and stuff that they do is dependent on or what they're doing to try to raise money to get more support from their communities. It's just not happening because of that lack of respect. And you're not going to see a whole lot of change until that happens.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You know, I kind of joke about this all the time, but it'd be cool if somebody, I don't have the bandwidth to do it, but if somebody would just come up with, hey, this is something good that the cops did today. You know, come up with a social media presence or something like that where if they just did that, the people would be blown away every single day that all the good things that cops do when literally the only thing that they see now is bad.
The media is very responsible for
Yes.
a lot of the issues that we're having with relationships with police officers.
If you turn your television off, like, there is no COVID.
It's true.
It's true.
I mean, but they give a report and tell you how many people are sick and dead and give you all the totals, and
well, and that's constantly changing too, because
Yeah.
they change the standard. Well, if you don't have a consistent standard, then how can you have a standard?
I don't know. It seems awful scary when you watch the news, but then to go to the store, it doesn't seem like any big deal. It's like totally normal here now.
Yeah.
No masks, no. I don't really talk to other people about it.
Yeah.
But man, flip on that TV and there it is.
Well,
Pandemic.
If you really want to know how bad it is, go to the CDC website and research how many deaths, how many flu, just the common flu deaths we had last year compared to 2018, 2017, and 2016.
Let's get into it.
Oh, dude, it's scary. It is very scary.
Yeah, I've been. My wife's more of a nerd than I am when it comes to the science behind all that stuff. But we've been, you know, I encourage everyone to just look outside of what the media is telling you.
Yes.
There's a brilliant doctors out there, virologists who are very in touch with what's going on,
Yes.
who are speaking out. They're sirens, but they're being silenced. Again, social media. I posted a video of this virologist who was talking about the treatment plans, and he was going in depth about this. I call it a shot. It's not really even classified as a vaccine.
No.
And what it can do long term, what he's fearing is going to happen when the next round of COVID hits for those people who have taken this shot.
Yep.
And, I'm not trying to freak anyone out who's listening that's gotten the shot, but really you need to do your research.
Yeah.
I mean, the government, they're not a very efficient machine, and they're going to make mistakes, and I think that this might unfortunately be one of them. I mean, first time in history something like this has been pushed through in record time.
Yeah, because traditionally it's 5 years
before
a vaccine is actually certified and all that kind of stuff.
And isn't the first, this, at least from my understanding, this is the first time that the government's ever gotten in bed with private entities like this.
Yes.
So there's billions of dollars on the table.
Of course.
And it's interesting how Fauci's story has changed 1,000 times.
3 masks. That's all you need.
Just 3?
Something like that. I don't know. It's
and the
changes.
effect that it has on people, I felt really bad because I laughed out loud, but it just was natural. It came out. I took my daughters to the park the other day, and this woman I watched, she got out of her car. She's from Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Illinois plates. And she's probably in her mid-60s. 4 masks I counted on her face.
Wow.
Nice.
I couldn't.
Smart.
Elderly woman.
How can you even breathe?
How can you breathe?
Who cares?
She didn't have any children, though.
You've got the mask.
She was circling the park as my 3 little girls are playing with a box of masks. She's doing her public service.
She seems nice.
Do you need a mask?
And crazy.
We're outside. I could get you. Oh, man.
I'm super thankful that it cannot get you if you get in a restaurant and sat down.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
There's obviously
There's a barrier around the table.
a height restriction.
Yeah.
Man.
There's got to be a code for it that it can't go below. We should start crawling around on the floor.
Yeah.
If
COVID lives up
sitting's
here.
good, crawling around's got to be better.
Yeah. Well, that's why they don't require children, like small children, to wear them, because they're down here. Because COVID doesn't live at this. The dots are connecting, guys. I think we're figuring it
That
out.
makes sense to me.
We're going to create our own conspiracy theory right here.
Todd, let me ask you an interesting question. I don't know. It's really troubling to me, and maybe you didn't even hear the story, but what's going on in Minneapolis with this martial law and the curfew set. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you want to talk about that at all?
I have a number of opinions on it.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, because it's upsetting to me personally. I mean, as American citizens, it's direct violence. I was watching a video of these people just pumping gas.
Yeah.
And an MRAP comes up, and these guys fully kitted out are coming out. They're on the mic saying, "You're under arrest for violating curfew."
To be honest with you, I think it's a violation of your civil rights.
Yeah.
And why it is that we need to have a martial law, and in all honesty, is because the law enforcement was not allowed to do their jobs last summer during all the riots. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why we have it. That's why people are especially in Minneapolis, and I have family that actually live in Minneapolis. And it's just absurd to me that, number one, the American people are allowing it. And number two, that the American people are allowing their judicial system, their the law enforcement and everything else to just be basically put on hold. No, if they're burning down a building, it's no big deal. No, that's a law violation. That's called arson.
Yeah.
Arrest them for it.
Especially a government building.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a bit more aggressive than the average person, but having the understanding and having been in riot situations and stuff like that, those type of people need to be arrested. And if you're not going to arrest them, all you're going to do is empower them.
Mm-hmm. Which is exactly what's happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened all throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm. I was shocked by that.
Yeah. Well, and here's my prediction. They're going to be acquitted of pretty much all the charges. They may be convicted of, I think, 1 or 2. But the murder charge, it's not going to stick, because the reality is you have to have beyond a reasonable, or beyond any doubt that this person committed this crime. If you look at the corpus or the body of a homicide, it has to be meditated that you're going to kill this person. I don't see anywhere and I've watched hours and hours of the video footage of the arrest and the interaction between Floyd and Siobhan.
Same here.
And it's just, I can't, for the life of me, I can't see anywhere where it's premeditated. And I honestly believe that they set that up to create more riots.
100%. Well, they only showed at the beginning, there was just that first view of the scene, and it wasn't the entire scene. You didn't see I don't know when the full video was released, but I believe it was a body cam on one of the officers where he was sitting down on the sidewalk having a conversation with Floyd and the things that Floyd was admitting. The issues he was having psychosis-wise, as far as whatever he was hopped up on drugs, just the whole scenario. Once all those pieces are together, okay, this is a completely different story. But when it was all released, what the public saw, how the media painted the narrative, and then, the results speak for themselves. It's clear as to the reason why people acted the way that they did.
Right.
The sad thing is once it's already out and all the opinions are formed, that's damage you can't really fix at this point.
Yeah, and I having been a cop before Rodney King, 42 seconds is what the media has ever shown of that whole incident. Most people don't realize that was a 6-minute episode. And they learned from that, okay, all we got to do is get our sound bites and our little clips and pieces of what we want to show. Because let's be honest, violence sells. Violence is going to make people tune in to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's clear. The ratings.
Yeah.
Trump's out of office right now. They got to find something to do.
Yeah, they got to find something else now. And unfortunately, that's kind of where it's at. And we as the American people aren't going, okay, so where's the rest of this? What happened? What were the pre-assaultive indicators? What happened prior to this? What happened after all this? How many times have you actually seen him Floyd loaded into an ambulance? Maybe 5 or 6. How many times have you seen Derek Chauvin with his knee on his back? Every single time that case is ever mentioned, that's what you see. We're being played.
And it sounds like there are pieces of information about the officer involved that play against him in this narrative. There's another issue with not enough training. The 3-strike policy, I believe he had like 11 strikes.
I'm
something like that.
Yeah, each department has their own own checks and balances, and I'm not privy to every intimate detail of Minneapolis, but there's each department kind of has their line in the sand of hey, this is where this is supposed to go, and if officers are exceeding it, dude, I'm the first one. If an officer's doing something illegal or doing something they're not supposed to, let's take care of it right now.
Yeah, it's serious business. Oh man, what a complicated issue.
Yeah, and it literally it's one of those things where it's going to divide families. Even my own sister who lives in Minneapolis, her and I have had some pretty intimate conversations about it, and she's like, "Well, I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that." I go, "Do a little bit of research.
Right.
Just do a little bit."
Across the board, whether it's COVID.
Or regardless of what it is, just do some research to at least build your own understanding of it.
It's crazy too, the impact that one incident had on the nation, like even my own neighbors in my own neighborhood. The divide that's happened as a result of it, or the polarization. I mean, if you're not with us, you're against us, and even if you think differently.
Yeah. And here we are 2,000 miles away.
It's just wild. Man.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with all that.
Yeah, hopefully this equipment behind us doesn't have to get put into use.
Oh, no, it'll be fine. We won't have to do anything with that.
Not up here in Camas.
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I tell you, and I have a number of close friends that are in law enforcement right now, and it's just, it really bothers me to know that, hey, they're going to be on the front lines here in the next couple months, just dealing with that same stuff over and over again.
Well, now that it's not cold anymore, everyone knows it is riot season.
Yes, it's true.
It is true.
It doesn't happen when it's snowing.
No, no.
It's too cold.
It's too cold.
Well, and then all the stimulus checks are paid, or utilized, no more money. I'm sure all that's been spent. So
Are they going to do another round of stimulus?
no, I'm just saying, how are they going to get the new freshest kicks that are released on the market?
100% off sale.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% off sale. All you got to do is grab the brick that, what's the dude's name behind all
Soros?
of it? Soros.
Yeah.
Planted on the corner. Hey, how did that giant stack of bricks get there? Free Nikes.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my coupon.
They might as well just put the sign on the bricks.
Gosh. Again, what you said earlier, the American people, we are failing
Yes.
so many tests, whether it's COVID and the mask baloney.
Yep.
We're just giving up rights left and right. The government is not just our government, but the world is watching.
Correct.
Jack was talking about that in his episode. We're being studied,
Yeah.
and we're showing a lot of chinks in our armor, guys.
Yeah.
It's for your safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patriot Act.
I'll be responsible for my own safety. Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's just, oh,
Man.
it's just frustrating because when you sit there and you look at the grand scheme of everything, it's like it really doesn't take much to educate yourself on something. 10 minutes of a search on the internet, and you can figure out just about everything. It's crazy.
And you bring up a good point with that. As far as the internet goes, there's different search engines you can use.
Yes.
Google will cater what they think you should be seeing.
Correct.
But get outside of Google, guys. There's Yahoo. There's a number of different resources that you can use to find information that isn't being, I guess, controlled.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right. 2021 predictions from your standpoint. You've got this career in law enforcement now that you've retired. You're doing a lot of course training. What are your thoughts on how things are going to go in America?
Let's see. I know we're going to see a few more riots, and look for those in your metropolitan areas, and not so much just your big metropolitan areas, some of your smaller metropolitan areas too.
We saw a little bit of that happen in Utah.
Yeah. Which really surprised me because that was one of the reasons why I moved here. Because, like I tell people all the time, I thought Utah was going to be the second wave. Mm-hmm. So I at least could see it coming to be prepared for it.
And then you were shocked to see a woman defecating on a police car.
Yeah.
In downtown Salt Lake. What the hell?
And lighting them on fire and everything else. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? This is what I'd expect to see in San Jose. So, let's see. Other predictions that I see a lot of people getting training, which I think is an absolute good thing because it broadens their horizons and opens up their eyes to get more understanding of, number one, just owning a firearm. That's the first step. And it's funny because I had a guy tell me the other day, well, I own a 1911. What do I need training for? And I just laughed. I'm like, okay, bro, that's your opinion. Cool. I'm good.
FUD.
Well, I just
get my 1911. That's all I need.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And it sounded just about like that too. But the more people that like last year, I had the most first-time gun owners ever in classes.
It's awesome.
And there's I never knew how hard it was to actually get a gun because the media kept telling me how easy it is. Granted, it's a lot easier here in Utah than it is in some other states. But, the people, when they take the time to get educated and get training, and then they understand the true ramifications of everything, like even in our CCW classes, when Ron teaches our CCW classes, I go in and just give them a block on, this is what happens after a shooting. This is what's going to happen to your body. Mm-hmm. And it just wakes them up. They're like, oh, I didn't take that into account. I'm like, yeah, that elevated heart rate, yeah, that's just one part of it. Tunnel vision, that's another part of it. The chance that you could urinate or defecate yourself, yeah, that's another thing that could be part of it. Then we have the financial part to go along with that.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Urinate or defecate. Wow.
And
fight or flight's pretty, it's intense.
It's a serious thing. And, if you take the time to study flight or fight, it's amazing how much it can affect your body. And it's not just during the incident. Mm-hmm. The post-traumatic stuff after that, it will follow you for the rest of your life. It literally, shooting at people will change your life. Ask any soldier that's coming back, any law enforcement officer has been involved in armed encounters or anything like that. It will change your life.
I would say that's probably one of the biggest takeaways in this episode as we're wrapping up, is making sure that you are getting the proper training, because our Second Amendment rights are under attack. Yep. And if you're not taking responsibility as a gun owner to properly train with that weapon, and you get yourself in a situation that you don't necessarily know what to do or have the proper training, and then you end up making a mistake, that's an attack on our rights and our freedoms, because the media is just going to gobble.
Oh, they're going to eat you alive.
Yeah. So NielsenTrainingConsulting.com.
NielsenTraining.com. NIELSEN training.com. You can get a hold of us there. You can call and leave a message that goes right to my cell phone. Usually I don't answer that right away just because I don't recognize the numbers. But if you leave a message, I'll get back to you.
I screen my calls too.
Well, a lot of times it's not me screening. It's just I'm so busy that I'm trying to keep up on it.
Is there a calendar? Because obviously we've got listeners from all over the country. Is there a calendar where they can, see when you're offering training and where?
Yeah, there's a calendar on there. You can go to nielsentraining.com/schedule. That'll give you just a quick list of stuff that's coming up, or you can go to nielsentraining.com/classes, and that'll give you the whole calendar. And if you want to shoot us an email and host a class in your area, I'm more than happy to travel.
Awesome.
Just got to make sure that we're within all the crazy nonsense of the COVID restrictions and stuff that's going on. So
that's still going on.
We've got to make sure that you're safe during this.
Well, and it's like we're doing classes outside, people,
So formats it is.
It's funny that there's a range that I use in California where it's privately owned, and there's a sign out on the gate that says "No mass allowed here."
I see that more and more.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's kind of refreshing, especially when you're going to a
you're
state
outside.
like California. Yeah, exactly.
Bro.
You're outside.
UV light. It doesn't. Wasn't there some science behind how it kills the virus pretty quickly?
Even the WHO said that.
We're thinking.
That can't be true.
No. Don't forget to wear your chin diaper. And that's all.
All right.
Well, that was very kind of you to take the time.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Like I say, if one of our 30 listeners' cousins calls you, we've won.
Okay.
Buy dead air suppressors.
Yes.
They're the best.
Yes. Okay, guys, have a great week.
See you next week.
All right, y'all. Have a great day. Be kind to each other.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your home slicers.